Welcome to a history and government class, Form 4 work. I am Mrs. Gethenji, and you can SMS us your name and where you are watching us from by using the number 21450. Welcome. So today, before we start our lesson, in order for us to be successful, we should have our role models in all what we are doing in order for us to be successful in our studies, in our lives, and in all what we are doing. These are people we aspire to be like. So let's look for role models to model in order for us to be successful. So our today's class, we are going to look at the League of Nations. The League of Nations. The League of Nations. In our previous lessons, we have been looking at the First World War, and we looked at the effects both positive and negative, and remember that the positive effects were very, very few, whereby we say that there was advancement in surgery and in medical field. There was stipulation of transport and communication as people needed to move and when they were fighting. Then we also said that gender equality was enhanced as now women in Europe started working in industries and as men were involved in the First World War. And also the fourth positive effect, we said that there was the creation of the League of Nations. There was the creation of the League of Nations. So that's now why we are looking at the League of Nations, the League of Nations. So in this one, we are, by the end of the lesson today, we are going to look at the formation of the League of Nations. Then we are going to identify the aims of the League of Nations. Why was the League of Nations formed? Then we are going to look at the charter. We are going to look at the charter of the League of Nations. Welcome. So the League of Nations, after the First World War, the world experienced a lot of social, political, and economic losses as we looked at them. We looked at the political effects, we looked at the economic, we also looked at the social effects. So all these were experienced after the First World War. So now the world leaders, they came together and they saw that there was a need to create an international organization. They saw that there was a need to create an international organization to maintain and preserve world peace and security. So they came together, they decided to create an international organization in order to maintain and preserve world peace and security, world peace and security. So this led to the formation of the League of Nations in April 1919. It was formed in April 1919. So we are saying that the idea about the formation of this world organization was to maintain world peace. And now let's look at the leaders. Who are these leaders who sat down together? And they decided to have the League of Nations. we had a very important person, Woodrow Wilson. Who was the leader of USA at that time? Woodrow Wilson, the USA leader at the time. Then we also had David Lloyd of Britain. He was the leader of Britain at that time. Then we had the third person from France. And this was somebody by the name George. He was called George Clemenceau. The word is on the board. That was the name. So we are finding that these were the leaders who sat down and they decided to form this international organization to preserve world peace and security. Although we had other leaders, like we had Robert Cecil and the rest, but these were the main leaders. These were the main leaders. Now, apart from maintaining world peace, what were the other aims? What were the other aims or objectives? So let's look at aims. Aims or objectives. What were the other aims and objectives of the League of Nations? So one, maintenance of world peace through peaceful settlements. Peaceful settlement of disputes before now they escalate to full-waged war. So they decided that the League of Nations will be settling disputes, in order to maintain world peace, instead of waiting for all these disputes. So when we looked at the causes of the First World War, we saw that very many nations had disputes. Very many nations had disputes which were not sorted out. So the League came up with the aim of maintaining the world peace through peaceful settlement of disputes before they became world war, by maybe mediating, arbitration, or negotiation in a peaceful way. Number two, they wanted, the League of Nations objective was to maintain peace through collective security. Through collective security, whereby members of the League were to act together. Members of the League were to act together to restrain the aggressor through economic, military, or social sanctions. We are going to talk about that. So now, instead of each and every country maintaining, working on its own, there was that collective responsibility. Collective responsibility is just like people in an estate trying to come up with ways of maintaining peace collectively. So we had that one. Then another aim of the League of Nations was to solve global economic and social problems. To solve global economic and social problems. internationally. So they decided to solve global economic and social problems through international cooperation, and that's why we are saying that it was an international body. For example, we say that there was the creation of refugees, the world refugees, because of people becoming displaced, families being separated. So this is one of the things whereby now the League of Nations was to look at that issue globally and solving it as a social problem now through international cooperation, Another objective of the League of Nations was to promote and respect the sovereignty. Promote and respect the sovereignty of individual states, knowing that even if these states are members of the League of Nations, they have, other nations need to respect their sovereignties, their independence, looking at them as independent nations. So this was also another aim of the League of Nations. Then also, the League of Nations had an objective. It had an objective of working towards disarmament. This is whereby, when we looked at the causes of the First World War, we saw that at that time, very many nations were armed. And we talked about the arms race, whereby countries were just piling arms, weapons, such that they were preparing that if you attack us, we are ready for you, we can fight you up. So the League of Nations came up with the objective of working towards disarmament, and they also wanted to discourage the production of arms. They also wanted to discourage the production of arms. We are going to see whether they were able to do this, and if not, why were they not able to disarm and to discourage this? Then also finally, the last objective of the League of Nations was that it was created to supervise the territories, the territories which had been taken over from the Central Powers. The territories or the colonies which formerly belonged to the Central Powers, and now they were taken over from the Central Powers, because we said that Germany was heavily punished, because it was said that it started the First World War. So the League was created with the aim of supervising the territories which had been taken over by the League from the Central Powers. So those were the main objectives of why the League of Nations was created. The League of Nations was created in 1919. We say that it was created in April 1919. So we are finding that in order for the League to achieve its objective, the League came up with rules. Just as we have rules everywhere, in our homes, in our schools, in our countries. So we are finding that the League came up with rules so that it will be able to achieve its objective. And we are seeing that it's also defined its structures and organization, and we are going to look at that one later. But now, when it came up with the rules, it came up with what is referred to as a charter, where these rules were contained, a charter. So let's look at the charter, those people who are members, those nations which were members of the League of Nations, what were the rules they were to abide in? What was in this charter? So let's look at the charter of the League of Nations. The League of Nations. One, all the nations were to remove causes of war. They were to agree that they are to remove causes of war. So all the people, all the nations which were part of the League of Nations, they were to remove causes of the war. That is, for example, by reducing the arms, the arms or the weapons, the arms, that is weapons, they were manufacturing. So they were to agree to do that. Then number two, they were to respect and guarantee national integrity and independence. Respect and guarantee. Nation independence and integrity. So they were to do this. All the members, they were to ensure that they guarantee national integrity and independence. Then number three, the members, according to the Charter of the League of the Nations, they were to use peaceful methods. They were to use peaceful methods in settling out their disputes. They were to use peaceful methods in settling disputes by submitting, and this was not to do it individually or maybe between two nations. They were to take them to the League of Nations. Then the League of Nations helped them to settle out the disputes. Then they were also to exchange. The members nations, they decided to exchange. Another rule, another principle is exchange information on research. They were to exchange information on research, national armament program, and also human labor condition. They were to do that. They were to exchange on that. They were to exchange on that. So finally, another rule they had to adhere to is to curb and control. They were to curb or to stop and control aggression. The members were to curb and control aggression through the use of economic sanctions. Economic sanctions, we are going to talk about economic sanctions, instead of using military action. Instead of them fighting, using military power, they were to control and curb aggression through economic sanctions rather than military action. For example, economic sanction, if two nations, they disagree, they can easily agree not to trade with each other. That is an economic sanction. Instead of now fighting, instead of taking the weapons and fighting, instead of taking the weapons and them fighting. So we are finding that with this charter, the rule of the League of Nations. The League of Nations was formed. The League of Nations was formed. We looked at why it was formed, the main objectives. We looked at the rules it was to abide by, and we also looked at the leaders who were involved in the formation of the League of Nations. And then with that, they came up with a defined structure. They came up with a defined structure and organization of the League. And in our next class, we are going to look at that structure of the League of Nations. But for now, in case of any tips in history, You can SMS us 21 126. 21 126. You write his 4. His 4. HIS 4. And the number to use is 21 126. Welcome.